There we go. The doors are open. People are coming in. That's fabulous. Hello, everyone. Lovely to see you here tonight with us. Hoping you're all okay. Recognising some of those names and some I aren't familiar with. So welcome to everybody. Just as you were coming in, I'll just let you know that there are two sections for you to communicate with us through. So if you're an experienced guilder, you'll know that we've got the chat section, which you are welcome. And Gary's already started us off, so you are welcome, more than welcome to pop a hello on there. Let us know where you're tuning in from.
Hi, George. Nice to have you here.
Yeah. I wonder where you're all calling in from. So if you select whilst you're in there, oh, in Cheshire, lovely. You're next door to me, really. If you select all panelists and attendees, everybody will be able to see your messages too. So if you want to pop any comments on throughout, you are more than welcome to. If you have any questions as we go through, please don't hesitate to ask them. Just type them out for me into the other section, which is the Q&A. So you should have two buttons at the bottom of your screen, one Q&A, one chat. Pop all your questions into Q&A for me and we will get through them as and when we can. Oh, we've got Amy calling in from South Florida. Wow, welcome. Very nice, very nice. So I won't waste any more time now. We've got lots of you here. We've got a lovely, fantastic session with Peter Lee. He has an amazing array of images to show you tonight and to talk you through them. They're just completely outstanding. So I know you're going to enjoy it. So Peter, I'll hand over to you.
Oh, thank you. And the friends who came here, they did mention they're coming. And if you need the hackling, can you put it on the message? Yeah, then the Q&A.
Brilliant, brilliant. Right, I'll let you crack on then.
Should I start sharing my screen now then?
Yes, you're welcome to.
Okay. Sorry, hold on. There we go. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
So thanks everybody for coming this evening. I don't do a lot of talks, so this is my third one. I've done one before with my club, and then there was another club before as well. And I'm a self-taught photographer. I do freelance graphics and user interface designer based. I work in South London. So I'm just going to talk about how I started my photography a little bit at the beginning. I started in 2013, and the reason why I started photography is because I got my daughter here. So she's 7 now, and I started shooting 6 months before she was born. And like many dads, we wanted to take some pictures that are sort of more than just phone snaps. We wanted something a little bit more personal and a bit more than just a phone snap. I will talk about how sort of this family pictures, and then how did it actually went to become panoramas, or something like these, for example, these mind-bending panoramas that I was mentioning about before. How did it flip happen? So for the next about 40 minutes, I'll talk about 40 minutes snippet stories about how panorama has impacted the way I shoot. Little bits of stories of different images that was important for my experience to learn from family shots becoming something like these. So I will also talk about a little bit about printing as well in the very end. So I'm going to start talking about family moments, mainly documenting about milestones of my daughter, but my wife really don't like the pictures I take. So she and I we both studied in art school, so she's got a very particular eye for things, and it's very nice to have someone who's so honest with you, like being so close. And if something is not right, she wouldn't try to she would tell you straight. So for me, it's a great benefit. And also inspired me to study a bit more about how do I take photos, not just snapping everywhere. So I did some research and I picked up a 85mm because it's the closest to when I started photography 7.5 years ago. I was shooting with a crop camera, very basic, and it's a 50mm, so that translated on the full frame. 85mm works pretty close. I don't have a lot of money to spend on gear, so I can't buy the latest, greatest. So I decided that I'll get something, I don't want to pay for the electronics, I'll just get a good glass. So this is kind of old. So these are from the sort of mid-80s, early 90s, this lens. So I've got rid of my other sort of kit lenses, and I just went for just this one. I just shoot with one lens and try it. And also because it's a manual lens, if I miss focus or anything, it's not the camera's fault, it's my fault. There's no way that I can blame anything else. When I was shooting zoom, I feel like a headless chicken because I don't know where. There's so many options. I can zoom in, I can go on the side, or there's too many variables for me. And by actually having to make this switch to shooting a single lens, it actually grounds me more, and it allows me to focus on what can I do with this lens rather than what can the lens do. So I actually really enjoyed having this limitation because as I said, it grounds me the way I shoot. And there's often limitation inspires us to be creative and think outside the box. So very naturally, because I work in South London, the commute became what I shoot every day. So in and out, day in, just with the 85mm, just going around shooting, learning, understanding how the lens work, like the qualities of the lens. And it very quickly became second nature. I say very quickly, but I'll probably spend about a year just photographing with just one lens and nothing else. And rather than thinking about zooming in and out, I'll be walking and I'll be sort of anticipating scenes. Like this is in Covent Garden. So before they hold their hands together, I sort of knew like I should be standing over there without thinking too much. It's just naturally, once you get used to the lens, you know, oh, that would be a good scene. It would be a nice compression, and you can have people at the back cheering, and these are audience as well, but they were participating in during the entertainment. So one evening was after work in Covent Garden back in 2015. They had a display. So there was 10,000 balloons by Charles Bertillon. I only got one lens from, and you can see all the shots on here from I just searched from Google, and they're all wide angles because it's so big. And with the 85mm lens, how can I get all this in there? But anyways, I just went, and I want to see what it's like. And the 85mm gets me here. I remember when I was reading about shooting, prime or there was well, a lot of people use, like a lot of landscape photographers use panoramas, and they shoot telephotos. Actually, the lens that I bought, this lens is secondhand. The previous owner, he is a landscape photographer, so they is often used using panorama for their work. And also a wedding photographer. His name is Ryan Benizer. He invented the Benizer technique, which is pretty much what I'm doing here. They also call it the Bokeh-rama, which basically you go left, right, like front, side, top, and you stitch a large image. Basically, you extend a sensor and you build up the image. So I thought, let me give it a try here. There's nothing to lose here, because I can't really frame my shot here. So I just went along and I started stitching this. And I remember I need to overlap about 1/3 of each image, and I just end up going around. It's just a 2x3 rectangle, and the end product will be something pretty much like a 24mm. And I thought, this is interesting. Even the balloons feel close. I mean, if it's 24mm, the balloons wouldn't be that up close. So I think I'm onto something here. Let's give it a go. Let's try this. It's interesting. So I start going out again for my commute, but this time I'm shooting mostly panoramas. So this was King's Cross. It's after an evening meeting I had in King's Cross. It was about 9:30 at night, and this is about 40 shots. I think it was like 10 across, and then it was 4 rows. So I went up 10 across and another 10, another 10, and another 10 to get the entire scene, because it's quite a big building. You can't really shoot the entire thing. So it's not perfect, but it's a recce shot. So I want to see what it's capable of. Well, how does Lightroom work with the stitching? So I was just trying to understand this whole process, which is good to know that that it sort of works. There are quite a bit of distortion and lots of work to fix it. The next bit I'll try this one, which is in National Gallery. So one shot is actually this. So this is my first shot when I was there, and I just went around. I did something about like a six shot rectangle again. And I realized that what is interesting is we can, rather than, because usually when we buy a fast prime, you want bokeh, but that depth of field you can also control depending on the distance between yourself and the subject and the background behind it. So basically, having to be able to stitch, you've got full control. You're controlling the depth of field by where you're standing. And in terms of the frame of the image, it doesn't need to be restricted on the camera itself. It can be as wide as you want. You can just stitch around whichever way, and you blend it. So controlling the depth of field is you can do this at 2.8 rather than being a 1.2 or 1.4. You can achieve that look, and also it gives you that depth of field of rather than the scene. Like pretty much will be something about, again, a 24 or 30 mil, but with the depth of field of an 85 mil. So it's quite exciting having to shoot like this, because you never know what the outcome is. You can't see the actual image in the back of your camera. You have to go home and stitch it, and you don't know whether it's going to work. So it's really fun as well, like this process of learning.
Brilliant. It's really interesting to see how, well, you don't see the finished article until you've done all of the work later on, which is fantastic. We've got a question.
Oh, yes.
Anila, so what is the advantage of stitching an image or scene rather than using a wide angle lens?
Oh, rather than using a wide to shoot everything, you mean why do I need to stitch it?
Well, what is the advantage of stitching an image in that way rather than using
from here, for example?
Yeah.
Because if I would have shoot with a 24 mil on here, oh, sorry, let me go back again. I won't be able to get that separation like an 85 mil. So in a sense, I'm having an image to focus the subject in the front, which is this lady here, and then also the men as well, which is very close focus. And everything at the back, which is the prints, people talking at the back, they're all very soft.
Yeah.
If I would have shot with a wider lens, I won't be able to get that.
Oh, there you go, Anila. There's an answer. Thank you, Peter.
Another advantage of shooting like this as well, which is kind of interesting. I went I think this is about 5-6 in the morning, and I got out of the train. This is Waterloo, so it's Jubilee Line. Jubilee Line is beautiful, by the way. So it's a great place to photograph. And it just happens that this person was running for the train, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting scene. So I just grabbed my camera and very quickly took the shot of him. But this is the whole scene. So the actual, I was quite close. So this is the shot that I've got pretty much. But it didn't feel right, because I feel like it's missing, composition-wise, is lacking. So this is one frame when I got it. And by the time I took this shot, I mean, he's gone in the train by now. And I thought, okay, let me take another shot on this side. So I add a bit more foreground interest to it. And I'll add another shot on this side so I can add the repeating patterns, which is the tube logos and the benches. And we stitch them together, you get a nice panel with a much better composition and leading line towards the subject. So the moment, you can capture the moment. if you couldn't get it all in the scene, you can do it afterwards as well. Well, preferably before the train goes, because otherwise it will change the lighting, the doors will close. So you still need to do everything within a few seconds before the train goes away. But at least it gives you a bit more time to recreate the scene or to expand the scene, because you've got the subject there. And then now, however big you want it, you can stitch around it to create that scene. So next one was testing, can I stitch people? And yes, we can stitch people, because this was the Lord Mayor's show back in November 2015, I think. And during Lord Mayor, there's a lot of audience standing around, and really they're not really moving. So you can stitch people, but you need to watch out the ones that are actually moving, that they won't overlap. But most of the time, like stuff like wedding events, it's easy because they don't move when they when they do a speech, for example, then everyone will be standing where they are. So we just need to find the pockets of time where there's not a lot of people running around. We can actually stitch around. And you get the compression as well from shooting a telephoto from here. You don't get any of the skies, everything is at the back, and the flag is big as well. Next one, I thought, can I stitch in rush hour when it was really busy, for example, in Oxford Circus, during rush hour, people's buzzing around, going around. Can I actually stitch this? And yes, we can. We can stitch it, but we need to be aware of the direction of the people are going. So on this scene, you can see most people are going from left to right. So in terms of the order of stitching, I need to stitch from right to left so that they don't overlap and you don't have doppelgangers on the scene. There's no two person the same. And whilst we're stitching, we don't want them to try to avoid anyone half of a person on the frame. So you won't have you won't get those strange artifacts. So it's tricky, but it's doable. So this one is about 10 shots, 5 on the bottom and then 5 on the top. It was a red light, the bus is not moving, the taxi is not moving. And next one is the gun salute, Tower of London. So I had the opportunity to shoot the Royal Gun Salute in 2016, and I was standing at the press area as well. And there wasn't any pressure for me to send the image anywhere like straight, because most of them, the professionals, they would have to straight away send it off. But it wasn't like that for me. So I can actually take a bit more risk. So I thought, why don't I try and stitch this scene and see what's the difference here. So I took about 40 shots on here. So if I just go around here, you can see how overlapping. Every shot is overlapping at least 1/3. I'll just quickly jump through. It's a lot of shots. So all this kind of, so by the end of it, with merging 40 images on Lightroom and about 4 hours-ish of editing, I can create this scene. It's probably about 200 megapixels size. Most of the time, we don't need it that size, but it would make a big print. It would make a really nice big print. And also, we get, by stitching, rather than shooting, for example, at 24mm, you can get a much nicer, a more defined foreground background, not nicer, but foreground background separation. That element we can't really get on the wider lens unless you pay a lot of money. And also, if you zoom in this close as well, you can see that the compression and the cascading details is the qualities of an 85mm, which is something that I'm very fond of. And also, I realized that when you're stitching, trees would move and the smoke will move. But even when you shoot, if you're going to stitch something that's if you're stitching something that is near water, for example, they will move. But organic things or nature is you can stitch them quite well, and they seem to blend very well. So there were subtle movements on trees. They seemed to be okay, and there was smoke going around, and they still merged pretty well. I mean, it's quite a tedious process to do this thing. I mean, other people would have taken the shots and they quickly edit them. They can do everything in 10 minutes, but I took 4 hours to do this. But I think it's rewarding for me that going through the difficult process, I learn a lot more about understanding panorama and the qualities of the character of what it does to your image. But there's a hard way of doing things always, and there's an easy way to do things like force photography. And I think if we take the hard route, we learn so much more. So I'll always take the hard route if I need to, if I can. I'd love to take the hard route. And by discovering the reason why I'm talking about so much on here, I spent about the last 18 minutes talking about not architecture, but about learning and discovering panorama, is because this has become the backbone of my work. So the next bit, I'm going to start talking about panoramas, or applying my panorama knowledge into architecture photography. Is any other questions? What anyone wants to ask me before?
Yes, we've got some questions. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I've just realised that the actual plug in my microphone was out. So I'm really sorry if you couldn't hear me, guys, when I was introducing everyone. So we've got what have we got? We've got, are you changing lens focusing for edge parts when you are shooting for stitch panoramas?
Sorry, can you say that again? Am I switching lens?
Yes, are you changing lens? Oh, are you changing lens focusing for edge
Oh,
parts?
no, the focus needs to be at one point.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do a panorama like this on an autofocus lens, make sure you turn it off. So you keep it manual. So where you start, you have to do the entire scene at the same focal point.
Is that down to the speed of how you have to move?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Sorry, I don't know if I'm having trouble with my mic this evening. Is that to do with how quickly that you have to take the shots that you use one focal point?
No, you can take your time, because sometimes you might be stitching a scene where you're waiting for a subject to come over here and then another subject from the other side. You can. The time is up to you, as long as the lighting doesn't change during the day. Then you can take however long you want. There's no rush to it.
Okay, great. So the next one is from Joanne. Are your images handheld or do you use a tripod?
Up to this point, it's all handheld.
That fascinates me. That does. I think it's absolutely amazing.
I mean, the trick is to move very little, and we can go through that a bit more as well later on.
Okay.
But the thing is that the longer lens you have, actually, is the more forgiving it is in terms of avoiding any stitching error, because the wider lens you get, there's more likely you're going to get errors.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you. So from Lynn, we have, when doing the street photography, do you pre-focus to a specific distance for your main shot?
Okay. So it's about the timing then, is it? You mean do I pre-focus or do I chase them? Is that?
Yeah, that's the question.
Okay. I always pre-focus where I want, most of the time. It depends on the situation, really.
Yeah.
But I think the way that I learned photography through shooting an old lens, I learned to there's not really zone focus, because on the mirrorless cameras are actually made to, you can see where you're focusing, so it's quite easy to do so. So in terms of I've left something at the end, but I think I can go through.
Okay. We can wait. We are more than happy to wait.
Yeah, but in general, I when I was starting off, yes, I was also saying, as I was saying, it's a bit of a headless chicken moment where I'm trying to chase everything, and because of the autofocus, I sort of I don't want to miss everything. But when we start to shoot with a menu lens, for example, it slows everything down, obviously, but it also changes the way you think. You spend more time looking at the scene. And for me, there was one occasion where I went to photograph a party, and this my friend's son is cycling around the table, in the garden table. He's got a little trikey, and I tried to chase and photograph him, but I keep missing. And I realized actually he always goes through this point where there's the edge of the table where I know he will go past that. So I just tried that, and I realized, okay, you can you can focus on that and then just wait for the subject and anticipate like what's going to happen, because he's just going to keep going in circles. So as long as he's go to that point, I take the shot, it will be shot. So I'm no longer chasing in a sense, because we don't want to keep chasing time. So if you think ahead, then actually time is created. The scene, you feel steps ahead of the subject coming.
Yeah, you can almost preempt what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. Can you explain or show the basics of your editing, like where you start and where you want to finish with it? I think that's quite a complex question, George, who's asking.
Could you repeat that?
Sorry, can you explain or show the basics of your editing? But I'm not sure. Are you going to come to that later on?
Oh, I mean editing, Mitch. Maybe I have to. I won't be able to cover it on this.
Yeah.
Maybe on another occasion.
Oh yes, we are more than.
Or maybe we can meet.
Oh, there you go. A little bit of mental in there for you, George. So that's a bit too complex of a question for us to cover tonight, but hopefully we can get something else in the diary with Peter, in which case we can cover something like that. So I'll just move on to our next question. So
I think your mic might have gone off. Sorry, could you check your mic, because we couldn't hear you. Oh, I think she's gone off. Hold on. Sorry, 1 second. Can you guys hear me? Oh, good, thank you. So I think something must have happened to her computer. So shall I? I think I'll just carry on, shall I? 1 second. Sorry. Just give me a moment, yeah. There she is. She's back.
Gosh, ladies and gents, I'm so sorry about that. My computer just completely switched itself off. Oh my goodness. Right, where were we? Oh, I've lost all of your questions as well, so I will work.
Okay, so let me try check the questions. 1 second.
Oh gosh, so it has been. Sorry guys, it looks like my computer's just been a really naughty thing tonight.
I will read it out now. Is that okay?
Yes.
Regarding the gun salute imaged, do you lock exposure? Oh, so that was the one I was talking about earlier. So lock exposure, focus for all the shots. Yes, focus on the. I focus on the soldiers in the front. and I'll just keep it there, because if I start to focusing on other things like the Tower Bridge, for example, then the entire image will not work. So it will be somewhere will be soft focus, and then somewhere will be not. So make sure you always lock your focus when you do stitching like that. My friend Otto here, yeah, you will see something. We'll see an image from Otto. He's a really good photographer.
Oh, fabulous!
Hi, Peter. Were these earlier images stitched automatically or manually? There are, most of the time they stitch quite well, but there are occasions where it didn't seem to match. We don't know why. And I had to, but there was an early version. I think nowadays it was less happening. But when I started stitching back in 2015, 2016, there are occasions where some of the slides don't work. For example, the bottom 3 seems to stitch, and then the top 3 didn't. So I need to manually do it by hand, Photoshop, to get it working.
We can't see. I'm so sorry. You're going to have to share your screen again, if you will.
Okay. Oh yes, sorry. Let me.
Can't see the images. So sorry about this, everyone.
Second.
My naughty computer is just. It's never done that before.
So you can see.
Perfect.
So anomalous attendee, hi there. So I understand Peter's standing still, but just moving the camera around the scene and not moving himself. Yes, you need to stay put where you are. There are ways to move around, and you shoot and you move and you shoot. But what I do, I'm always standing in one point and you take the shot. So essentially what you're doing when you're stitching is you're making a sensor bigger. So rather than shooting a crop sensor or full frame, you actually, when you do this, you're making the sensor that big. You're making it into a medium format or large format camera to create that scene. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Joanne, okay. Alan, what stitching software do I use? I use Lightroom and Photoshop. Later on, these early ones are all Lightroom, and then also Photoshop as well, because Photoshop is a bit better. It's got an ability to fix the vignetting between the images. So if you're shooting wide open with the lens, you often have vignettes at the corners.
Yeah.
So if you do it in Lightroom, you stitch in Lightroom, you will see those shadowy bits. So it happens the most if you have a really plain, for example, if it's like a clear sky, a cityscape, and there was no clouds, the sky will be really patchy when you do that. So if you stitch that in Photoshop will automatically fix any vignetting for you. Or otherwise, another thing that we always advise people to do is to actually do your lens correction in Lightroom, because it will have the data of your lens. You can do it, but I couldn't, because I use old lenses. There's no data for that.
Really?
So I did it the hard way.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. So shall I carry on?
You are more than welcome to carry on. Yes.
All right. So panorama and architecture. So how did I start putting together? 2015, I met these 2 friends of mine, it's Catherine and Tarek. So they shoot architecture before me, so they taught me how to shoot architecture pretty much. And Catherine's really strict with me, because if I'm a little bit off center, she will tell me. Basically we go around and we shoot different places. London's got so many architectural places to go, so it's great to be in this city and be able to explore different places every time. So we continue doing this every week. This is Catherine on the top, and there's Tarek there, and then there's me down there tethering, shooting with the camera that I put on a tripod on the top, taking this photo. So they took me to Peter Jones, John Lewis, and to do, So I didn't know I'm afraid of heights. I've got fear of heights until I went there, and then gone to the top and start dangling the camera out there and realizing, oh crap, this is actually quite scary. Because normally we wouldn't do that. Like if you're going there for shopping, you wouldn't dangle anything off the edge. But when you start trying to take architectural photos, and you try to look straight down, it's kind of scary.
Was it really nerve-wracking to be holding your camera over there.
Yeah, it's I am shaking. Yeah, so
Imagine,
yeah. I mean,
imagine.
a lot of people are not, but I'm only 5 foot tall, so I'm not used to heights. Okay.
Oh gosh, I don't think many of us are used to that kind of height.
I went there and I feel like I need to get a new pair of pants now after that. Anyway, so that go on, not the pants bit, but we went around and shooting different locations, and it's great practice.
Mm.
And
These
really,
shots are beautiful.
so this is in Stratford. This is my commute.
Mm-hmm.
There's Embankment. And this is from Open House. So though these sort of led me to, well, I haven't done any stitching on here. All these ones are not stitched. These are all single shots on the 15mm. And I kind of got the 15mm because I met them, because I really like what they shoot. So now instead of shooting with the 85, I've been taking my 15 around, and I've been treating it the way that I was with the 85, was shoot everything with it. So I end up taking the 15 and shoot everything with the 15. It's sort of, I've done that with the 85. I learned about the 85. I'm going to learn the 15 again the same way and see what happens. So this is Welcome Collection in Euston. And I think a lot of Londoners here, they will recognize that if they want to go around and shoot like we do. You probably recognize this staircase, and it's been shot so many times. It's so beautiful, this staircase, I think. They also have the coffee shop on the top, which I thought would be interesting, because I thought, can I stitch like this? Because I've done my stitching with the 85, but can I stitch with the 15? You know, would that be crazy if I shoot wide ago? And it does stitch. It does work with a lot of editing to correct the perspective. It can work, and it looks sort of interesting. you got two verging lines. You've got going straight down, and also you've got the 1 point perspective towards the door. So I thought, okay, let's try it more. So this was a restaurant in Covent Garden. Actually, we had breakfast with my friend Charles and Arpad, and I just happened while I was popped to the loo, and on the way to the loo, I saw this staircase. I thought, okay, well, that's really interesting. Can I stitch it? So I wait for a subject to come up here, and I took the shot, and it does work. Again, with a lot of errors that I need to fix as well. But the concept is working, so I think, let's carry on. Open House 2016 was a big one. This is my first open house, and we all went as a group. It's quite fun. So my camera died, actually. So luckily, Arpad has a camera. He led me. We have the same camera. So these shots are actually out of his camera, because when I set up my camera right in front of here, it died.
Oh, how awful for you!
Pardon?
I said, oh, how awful for you!
Yeah. So I was lucky. I'm grateful. There's so many other friends around. At the time, and
good.
Arpad was really helpful. Yeah.
Good.
So I've got that. Put my lens on and take the shot. So this is the first shot. So this is what we see in the 15mm from the balcony, just sort of the middle stores, looking into the stage. And I took another one on the top, and another one to the top, and you put it together, and you get the entire scene. But later on in 2018, we got another opportunity to go as a group. So I went from a 15mm, I started using a 10mm, and I've got something like this. So that was during a time when they were preparing the lighting for the evening. It's a very, very different lighting for when we had open house. So this is a bit chaotic, and it had the stage lights are actually dangling at the bottom. I think they were preparing it, but it looks amazing. So I thought, oh, this is really fun. This one is a place that we always go. Most of my friends, we always come to this area, because from here across the bridge, there's so much to shoot, and we meet for sunrises to shoot. There's such a nice scene there. But anyways, this is the Scoop. This is at the City Hall, and here I've written is bed lighting, but the lighting is not bad. I was the bad one, because I woke up late, so I missed the blue hour. So I thought, okay, let's do some recce shots here, because I think I can I can shoot something interesting here. This is actually a 5-shot stitch on the 15 mil on the portrait mode to capture everything. As you can see, the length, on the edges, the bricks are actually bending, because that's a typical thing when you stitch something. Something has to bend. It's not obvious when you use a telephoto, but because when you stitch telephoto, think about it, the angle of what you see through the lens is so small. So when you're actually turning, from here to here, you get the entire image. But with a wide angle, you see a lot more. So when you turn a lot more. So usually it will become fisheye and things will bend. That's the nature of panoramic photography. So this is bed light, and I came back later on again, and instead of doing 5 shots, I did 10. I did 5 at the bottom, and I do another 5 on the top. On a good day, so the lights were right, and I really like the sky. This was stitched in Photoshop because that patchy issue is actually happening, so I had to move away from Lightroom and did this in Photoshop. And after this one, in 2018, during the Beast of the East, we had a big snowstorm, and I was out there, so I went and I took this one with the 10mm again, and I went straight up. You get the whole loop, you get the windows. This was quite tough because the snow would keep getting into my lens, so I have to wipe and take the shot. It's all smudgy, it's messy. So I haven't actually edited this shot for the last 2 years. I only edited during lockdown last year. So you can see what it's like. You can see the snow coming down, and I had to take many shots, clean the lens, take another shot, clean the lens, and take another shot. But manage, if it's easy, there's no point doing it. So.
Exactly. That is such a good point to make, Peter. Such a good point. We've got some lovely comments coming in. This gorgeous. This one has to be one of my favourites, and it's an amazing shot. We're having lots of lovely comments through, so just to keep you up.
I couldn't see the comments. I had to go through it after, I think, because I
yes, exactly. Yes, we can save them for you.
Thank you. So this is another recce shot. This is my commute again. I work in South London, so often going up to Oxford Circus to change. You can see, can you see the brickwork? They're all sort of broken lines. So that's what happens when you stitch by handheld. When you're not, when you move too much, your lens from here and you start moving it to here and you start moving it to there, and you're not shooting from the same point. So the lines would break, but it's okay. It was a test. It's a test of concept whether this scene works. So I'm quite intrigued with this scene. There's so many exits going on, and imagine if it's a rush hour, not now, but later on, hopefully, people, different people will be going left and right, and if I can stitch the moving people and this scene, that's what I'm thinking about. But I had this for quite a while, but I never got around to do it. But here you go. So it doesn't need to be perfect. I think if you have a place or someone or something that you want to try it out, don't be obsessed about getting it right. Just get a recce shot and keep it in the back of your head. It's always interesting. It's inspiring to do this. Okay, so this one is in this is the London School of Economics. So they had an amazing library lookup. Everyone loves that space. Not often it's quite hard to get in, actually. Open house, they do open. But we were lucky we managed to get in. So this is with the 15mm with one shot. Later on in 2018, I went back again with the 10mm, and I did a 5-shot stitch. But you can see the difference between this one. I think a lot of people might prefer this one. You put a lot more emphasis in the middle, and it's actually quite a nice scene. I just thought when I was taking this shot, I was wondering. I like this whole spinning thing. Can I get it all the way? So I did a 10mm look up, and then I did another 5 shots on there, and you created. This would be something like 4mm, 3mm. I don't know, because if you use software like PT GUI, you run it through there. They will actually give you the figures, like by the number of images that you stitch together. They will tell you what's actually what the millimeter length that you're actually shooting. So I have a feeling this is about 3 or 4mm.
Yeah.
and then we went to shooting cathedrals, because this lookup actually works really well with cathedrals, because if you're outdoor, you end up looking at the sky. It's not very interesting when you have building and then you've got a lot of sky. It doesn't work. But for an interiors, like churches, there's so much details in there. So very quickly look up interiors of architecture buildings. Of cathedrals became one of my main inspiration, one of my main things I shoot. I was with Otto here, and he took the shot before me. He was around here. We were framing it, so I said, "Oh, you take the shot first." You know, but the sun wasn't there. You know? And then when he finished, I went in, and the sun came in. So, sorry, Otto. Yeah.
So you won the shot, really.
Yeah, always. When I'm with him, we're both really not really lucky with the light, but when I'm with him, I'm the lucky one. So it works. Yeah. So we went. It was a tour, so we went. I mean, we went there together in the morning. So we went there about, I think, 7:30, really early. It's during the winter, or January, I think. So you got this light coming through.
Beautiful, absolutely stunning.
So this was when we went upstairs to the famous lantern, and they had these. There's a missing print on there, because that's the window they open, and they can look out. So my one's open. We're looking out there. I quite like it because we can sort of see a bit of wooden structure at the back.
Oh wow!
I didn't flip anything on, put it on. I just kept it as it is. So I quite like it being natural that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can shoot sort of in the front, and you stitch the two on the top, and you stitch the two at the bottom, and you end up with this kind of egg shape in here.
It's wonderful, absolutely beautiful.
So I'll just run through here.
Lots of people are loving the colours of your work.
Oh, thank you.
Really loving them.
So, okay, so this one is, I had the opportunity to go to France. This is a wine cellar in Bordeaux. So I'll show you what actually what's in the frame is that. So you can see there's missing a whole chunk on the bottom. So what I had to do is I had to stitch that. It was sort of set up on near the ledge. So there were 7 rows of barrels. Yeah. So I had to stitch another one below and then blend them together to create this seam and correct the perspectives. So it took a while. It took a while to do, actually. It's not as easy as put 2 images together and then click and then done. When it's come to architecture, anything you tilt will create a massive distortion. So I have to be really careful. And then 2 years later, I went back again and took another one from the bottom. So this one is a five shot stitch as well. So from left to right. So I can show you, this is 1 shot. And I wanted to be quite close to the barrels as well, because I wanted that because wide angles, they sort of emphasize on the foreground. And I want the barrels to be really prominent.
It's wonderful how a change of perspective can completely change the image.
It does.
Really, really strong.
Okay, so next bit is, well, we're back in London again. We're going back in time again in 2017, when I was out with a few of my friends here, just to have breakfast. We always go here to shoot, and because we admire the scene. The morning is beautiful, and we'd like to have breakfast there. So a little bit further on the right is this building, which is the Batman building, we call it. Or if you're an architect, they probably refer this as the Millennium Falcon. I remember, because the aerial view looks like the Millennium Falcon. So this image this place has been shot many times, and everyone loves it because of the Batman look. I haven't really shot this space very much, so I thought maybe I'll go and have a try. So I went. I lined myself up to the center and started looking up, and then I start bending over, and I thought, hold on, the leading lines are still going. It's moving towards the tree. This is interesting. So I'm pretty much doing limbo here. I've bent all the way back. And I was next to Arpad, and Arpad was asking me, Peter, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, but I might be onto something. It might be crap, but I might be onto something here. So I took the shots, and when we go for breakfast, we went to the coffee shop, and I did a stitch, selected all the images, put them together, merge, and this came up. So flipping over a couple of hours of editing, we managed to create this scene, which is a very, very interesting perspective for me. And it means that I can probably do something 180 degrees. It doesn't need to be, it's not confined to this way. It can go all the way to the back. And I thought, okay, wow, where else can I go? You know, to try and, you know, prove this concept. Can I do that? I came back again on the same, because in 2018, the Beast of the East, I took another shot. So after this one, and I went again, and I did this snowy one as well, which looks very, very different. I like this look, and also, you know, the lady's leaving the office, so I managed to take a picture of her there as well. So that comes to my 180 degrees panoramas. So this is one of my early ones. I thought it was the first one. I think it's the second one that I tried to do. The first one I was with Otto when I tested it somewhere in London, and then this is the second one I've done. I was with my daughter, and she's only 3 at the time, and I don't want her to run around. So technically, she took the shot because I gave her the trigger, because I don't want her to run around. So I said, here you go, you press, and I was setting up the camera with the tripod and everything. So it did a trick for about 5 minutes, and then she just ran off. But at least I got the shot here, and because it was a really cold day, and it was my daughter's, you know, first collaboration with me and my daughter, why don't I make it a bit more, you know, snowy, you know, like the way she loves it, like a snow castle. So that's why it looked this way. Yorkminster doesn't look like that. Yorkminster is much more, you know, it's not as crazy as this.
It almost has a Disney Frozen feel.
Yeah, that's the look that she wants. So I did that.
Oh, that's ace.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that.
I quite like it in the end. I quite like it. I think they liked it as well. I think Yorkminster, they liked it as well. So that was good. That works. So I'm really excited. So I started to look at where else can I go. And I happened to have a meeting in Bath, and I went there and take this photo. This picture took me 4 hours to take. And the reason, because there's 3 hours is I was waiting pretty much, because they've got a concert, they've got a choir going on, and I went there early already before the meeting, but I had to wait because it's so busy. So I had to wait them to clear out, and then by the time there's no way for me to get a clear shot, so I have to wait for someone to leave the seat and take another shot, and then blend all those pictures together. So the entire shot itself probably took about 10 hours to edit.
Wow!
But this is not the hardest one. This is nowhere near the hardest one. So this is a fun one. So I said fun, actually is actually quite sad as well. So this is Dawkins. It's called Dawkins because it's a tribute to their cat, which sadly passed away last September. It's the cathedral cat who's been there for over 10 years. I think it's 12 years. So I had I've done this place before with the chairs. So I'm a good friend of the person who looks after the shop. So his name is John. So he looks after the shop, and I showed him my portfolio. I was like, hey, I really want to. I want to sell images of this. Is it possible? I was like, oh yeah, let's do it. So it was really nice to have such a response, because I always, I wasn't sure, and I don't sell my prints unless the place itself agrees to it.
Yeah.
I just felt, I could sell and be sneaky and sell them, but I want to build a relationship with them.
Yeah.
So
it's much more.
I'd rather be more honest. I think we can do with more honesty nowadays. So, anyways, it was good. So I had an exhibition there as well, and then
Wow.
one morning, he gave me a call, which is the week of the London Fashion Week, and they had a fashion catwalk down the aisle. So they took all the chairs out.
Wow.
So the next morning, John gave me a call and they said, Peter, we got 2 hours that with no chairs in. We're going to put the chairs back in. Do you want to come and take the shots? I was like, yeah.
Of course.
So I just went straight in and get the shots.
Brilliant.
But there's also the cat. I don't know, can you see the cat? Probably not here.
Oh, is he?
Can you see the cat?
I think so. Oh no.
No.
Where is he?
Oh, yeah, how again?
Oh, can see him now. Yeah. I hope. Can everybody see him?
If you're smaller, I'll go in a bit more. So can you see
There
the
he
cat?
is. Oh,
So
lovely.
that's Dawkins. So it's a tribute to the little cat.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Loving cat.
That's, oh my gosh, and you literally can't see. I love that in your images there's a story behind them. There's a lovely story behind them, and there's
I mean, you can't really, it doesn't really work on social media because you can't really see it. So it's nice to be able to share
yeah,
something,
yeah.
a bit more details. I mean, they go, so I mean, most of these are about 100, 110, 100 megapixels. So they do
Wow.
print quite big and they can show quite big.
Yes. What I'll do for you, Peter, as well, and for everybody watching, I will share the link to your shop so that everybody can have a look and see what you've got on sale. And the
I'm hoping there will be a few more cathedrals and churches going to be adding because I'm still speaking with them.
oh, brilliant, brilliant. So it's one to keep an eye on, guys. So I'm going to give you that link now.
20% of the sales donation will go back to the churches, and also the ones that are, for example, the winter ones of the scenes we saw earlier in More London, like Riverside More London, the buildings. I mean, those ones, the 20% will go to Crisis UK, so it's supporting homeless.
That's so wonderful. I'm going to find that for
so
you.
this one is St. Paul's Cathedral. This is during the 350th anniversary event in 2016, where St. Paul's used to be very strict with photography, so they normally don't allow photography, and no tripods, obviously, no photography. So when they have this open event where you're allowed to take photos, so many people were there. So in order for me to get this shot, I have to be the last one, earliest to get there, or the last one to leave there. So this is what it's like, pretty much on the evening. I think this is late. I think they close at 9. This is about 8:30. Because then when it was about 7:30, it was really buzzing. It was really busy. I can't really get the shots. It's very difficult to shoot. And obviously, definitely, we can't shoot something like that. So I was one of the last one to leave. We were waiting. I was waiting for this location, and I can't use a tripod. But how do I set this up? So I just wedged my camera on the bag. Actually, not true. I had my tripod hidden in the bag like that, and I just it was inside the bag, so I got something to hold on to.
Wow.
A bit naughty, yeah. I should.
Look a bit naughty.
But I think my friend who's the official St. Paul's photographer, who might be in the audience now, I told him to come. So yeah. but it will. So anyways, because it was about 5 of us here. Whilst I'm shooting this, I was on the ground because that's. I can't have a tall tripod. I have to be on the ground in order to do a long exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up having set it on the floor, and then there was another guy on this side. There's another guy on this side, and there's another guy right above me. So we're about 4 or 5 of us. We're trying to get the scene. So I was ending up doing my panels again in order to get from front and all the way up to the top. Wow. So I've done this shot, and I've emailed it to the head of communications at the time.
Yeah.
And they invited us back. A few of us invited back, and we had another event. And that's how I met the official photographer of St. Paul's as well, and became good friends with him. And we, later on, a year later, I managed to go in and take another shot with a tripod properly.
Yeah.
For this scene, so I went again, similar, sort of.
Amazing.
So this is 5 shots, I think.
The colours are so beautiful.
And now it's on sale in St. Paul's shop as well. So the A3 print of the sign prints are actually there. I'm also, it wasn't publicized, but I'm selling this one with the floating frame as well, which is a limited edition I've got it framed in Haggerston, which is there's framers who does framing for the Whitechapel Gallery and V&A as well, and Tate. So they frame for
Oh,
them.
wow.
Frame these ones.
Amazing.
Moving on. So another year on, 2019, I managed to get the full 180 of St. Paul's, because that's when I actually knew how to do it. Because 2017, I didn't know how to do this, but now a little bit wiser, I can. But it's a very different lighting, because previously it was a blue hour. This is completely dark, so the windows are dark. You don't get those blue hues anymore. Yeah. Is anyone okay? Is everyone okay?
Yes, yeah.
You're not. No one's sleeping yet. Hopefully.
No, they're all intrigued. They're absolutely all intrigued. We've got some questions, but I don't know if you want to wait for the end, or we can have a go now.
I think we're closing to the end of the architecture section. So shall we leave it to there?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully some of the stuff I'm showing will answer some of the questions as well.
Yes.
So this is during a family trip to Iceland. This is the famous church, the Hogumskirkja. So my family is out for lunch. It was midday. It was around midday, and I skipped lunch. And I thought, let's go and take this photo, because I don't really have a chance to come here anymore. Our trip is kind of tight. We're going to leave this area, so I have to get it there. Midday sun, really sunny, and you go in there, and it's great. It's empty. No, it's not. It's far from perfect. It's actually, I think this is the hardest place I ever shot. So I'll show you what actually is going on in here. It's not empty like that. So we've got a coach load of tourists. So I can't set up my tripod as well. It's too crowded. But even if I set up my tripod is I've got a travel tripod, so it's a bit short, and everything in the Nordic countries are tall. And I'm only 5 foot tall, and I'm used to that. I mean, everything's taller than me anyways. But Nordic tall is like another level of tall. So I'm done with the short jokes. Okay. So right. Well, tall windows, yeah. So their windows are really, really high up. You see, they're really long. So the light is actually shining through. Like when the sun is shining through the windows, when I tilt my lens up, what do you get? You get lens flare. So when you start panning, you get all the lens flare in different parts of the image every time you turn. So I can't shoot that. I had to wait for the sun to get out the way behind the walls before I can take the shot. As well as, I can't use a tripod, so this is all done handheld. And I need to wait for the tourists to move out the way to get the shot. And whilst the people were sitting there, I have to sort of remember like who set up, who left, and who gone. And I need to take the shot when they leave the seat. I take another shot so I can get that empty space. So all bits and pieces of problems that I need to solve while taking this picture.
You must have a huge amount of patience, Peter.
Yeah, I think this is why, because earlier I mentioned when there's an easy way or a hard way, you always do the hard way. So I can't. It's my words against me, so I have to suck it up. I had to do it. So this is about 40 hours spent just fixing all the line errors that needs to be done.
Amazing.
It's worth it. I think it's totally worth it.
Absolutely.
I'm still waiting for them to respond, because I want to add this to my collection to sell. But I have.
Brilliant.
I hope so. Yeah.
Fingers crossed they do.
So this is called the benching lines. This is a lot of people confuse. They mistaken this one with the other one earlier. This is in Denmark. So it's not those crazy panoramas that you see, but this is also still a panorama. And I think Anila might be interested in this earlier when she was asking the question why I'm not shooting wide, and why am I shooting with sort of a standard or a telephoto, and then stitch these images. So you can see that the image looks like this is move. It's like a tilt shift. It's move the image plane down, so you can. The verticals are straight, but it looks like you've moved the horizon line down. Yeah. Because by shooting straight on, and you do a few more shots, and with that, Photoshop or Lightroom, they will automatically align it for you. That's one of the characters, one of the characteristics of shooting panorama. They will fix it. If you shoot with softwares like PTGui, you have the option to move it up and down as well. It's really good. So the difference with this, and also I've done one with a 10mm as well. I'll show you right after this one. I mean, the advantage, of course, is to print as well, because you can see all the brickwork details when you stitch. You're not cropping the image, you're adding more pixels to it. So rather than shooting with, for example, maybe a 42 megapixel, when you crop it down, you get down to about 30 megapixels. Now I'm actually, 70, 80 megapixels in this image. You get a lot more resolution on the image. So this is the wide one. If I shoot wide, it's got quite a different look. I mean, I can crop it in the middle, but the character of wide angles is that the foreground becomes more prominent in some ways, and also because you're shooting wide, you can see the walls you can see more gaps between it rather than this one, because these are much more closer. All the pillars are much more closer. On the wide angle, they sort of moved out a little bit. And also you see a lot more, I see a lot less of the chairs, whereas these one, you're really close to the chair, which is not too bad for this place, because it's, in terms of for the history of this place, it took 3 generations to build. So the father actually built designed the church, and the son actually designed the chairs. So for this image actually is quite complimenting that there is a collaboration between his father and son. Whereas for the image look that I wanted that morning light, that with the cascading light and shadows going through. That was the look I'm going for, and I want to keep the chairs not to be too dominant in the image. So by controlling, using a telephoto and stitching, and versus shooting a wide, you can choose what subjects in there that you want it to be more prominent. And then for the wide angles, well, basically this is 2 shots of what was a 9-shot panorama, which is, so this is the same set, but I just took 2 of the slides out, and that's the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So people are popping.
So if anything, the main thing about shooting architecture, I think, or anywhere really, is just get there early. This is 9:30 in the morning. Yeah? So I was setting it up and taking the shots. I know someone might be interested in what was that setup over there, but I will show you later if you like doing Q&A. I've got it. I've got something here. Yeah, and I'll show you what happens at 9:50. 20 minutes later. Yeah, so we can't be late. Yeah, when the tourist coaches comes, you can, unless you have the patience to do all the cloning out again, or it's really it's tough when this comes.
Those 20 minutes make all the difference.
Yeah.
Those 20 minutes, in fact, save about 20 hours after.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, more than probably. Yeah. Save that headache, and also you get much better image quality. So this is, I went to, oh, by the way, thanks for Otto again. Otto took this shot of me when I was doing my panorama inside the South Bank Centre. So earlier in 2018, I was invited by the Hayward Gallery in London South Bank Centre to visit the reopening of exhibition space, the launch of Andrea Gursky's exhibition. It was amazing. If you know who's Andrea Gursky, you have to look him up. So I've spoken with the organizer and asked him, can I take this place? Yeah, I really want to go to the Royal Festival Hall to take this photo, because my father, I mean, many years ago he came to London, and he's very fond of orchestra and concert halls. He loves classical music. So I love to take a shot of this. Can I come and take a shot? So he said, yeah, let me find a schedule and see if I can schedule you in. So not too long later, we managed to come in and take shots here. So this is my take. Well, you can see where I am. This is Otto taking photos of me. This is when I'm taking the photo. I mean, you guys, you have to check him out if you can. Yeah, Otto Berkeley. So I wanted something that you can shoot from. I wanted the scene at least 180 degrees. I wanted to look from the stage to the audience, and also I wanted from sort of by the front row looking into the stage. Can I do that? So I did a stitch again. Flip that around. So we can, with a lot of editing again, because it's not symmetry like churches, and it's not everyone's cup of tea. But I think it's a very interesting attempt, and I love to experiment more with concert halls, because I think there are a lot of potential in here. So flip it around here, they have the piano and the panel, 3 seats in there. There's also the organist who's playing there, because he's the reason why we can go there. They were doing the recording of him, but I cloned out the guys the team who was recording it and filming. Yeah, I really look forward to visiting more theatres and concerts, hopefully in the coming years. So I will end my architectural part of the presentation here.
Brilliant.
Everyone's, we all meet different people when we shoot, and we learn from our peers. So our journeys are kind of unique, and we cross paths with inspiring people. And we learn from their knowledge, and we sort of, part of them lives in us, and we can work something that makes us unique as well. So panoramic architecture just happened to be something that I just discovered through trial and error, and I end up really enjoying doing it. I mean, if anything you can take away from here, panorama, the little insights I've given you is not really the topic. It's more about you discovering and experimenting the techniques that you want, that you can materialize into, you can use it to visualize your vision, your artwork, so that you can shoot beyond that camera that we have. Yeah, I'll say outside the box. Okay, so that's the box. Yeah, so you can shoot beyond that. Your vision is much bigger than that.
Brilliant, very inspiring.
So we will move to the printing part of it. I mean, if anyone, should I answer some questions now?
Yes, you can do. I hope everybody's okay for time, because I know we are running over.
Oh, we ran quite a bit over. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We've had technical issues, so don't worry at all. As long as everybody's okay to stick with us. Yuki says we can run over for more hours. Right. Brilliant. So hopefully everybody's happy to stay. So we've got one from Alan, which is, do you typically shoot wide open?
If I'm shooting a like 85 mil, because I wanted to control the depth of field, I usually do. But on the wide angles, like architectural shots, I don't, because I wouldn't get that advantage as well, and because I'm usually shooting with a tripod nowadays. Unless I'm forced to shoot handheld, I won't necessarily shoot wide. I would love the corners to be good. Yeah,
brilliant. From Lynn, we've got, which vintage lens are your 10 and 15 millimeters?
Sorry?
So from Lynn, we've got, which vintage lenses are your 10 and 15 millimeters?
It's not really a vintage, but it is a manual one. It's a Voigtlander. So these guys are Voigtlander, 10 millimeter.
Oh, okay.
So they are quite tiny. They're not big. Yeah.
Beautiful. We've got from Bob Stevenson, we've got, hi Pete, great presentation. What camera are you using for these shots? So
okay. So camera. Most of them are with the A7 II, actually, or the A7R2. I've recently upgraded to the third one, but really any any would do. If it makes sense, it wasn't so much the camera.
Yeah.
If anything, if you can shoot sort of bracketing, that helps, because if it's a crop sensor, you usually have the ability to capture the range of colors. It's more difficult for smaller sensors. The bigger sensors have the advantage of a bigger dynamic range, they call it. So if you can shoot bracketing, so you capture as much of the shadow details and also the light details, and you combine it in Photoshop, you pretty much got most of the information for you to work with.
Brilliant. So that should answer Luciano's question, which is, are you using a crop sensor camera? So you aren't using a crop sensor camera.
I'm not, but it won't be a problem.
It won't hinder. Yeah, it won't hinder your abilities. Yeah. Brilliant. So guys, you can all do this too. So we've got the next question is, are you using a nodal point adapter?
I have one, yes. Nowadays I do. When I'm shooting handheld for the telephoto ones, I don't need to, because you're relatively far away from the subject. So slight movements is not a huge problem. As I was saying earlier, when you shoot wide angles, your foreground is sort of exaggerated a little bit closer to you, so anything in the front will be a problem if it doesn't match. So if I would say mostly wide angles, you sort of, if you can do it. If you can't, it's okay. We can use a technique where instead of tilting your camera, usually what we do this, put a finger on the where the front is, and you just tilt this way. So that keeps the camera where it is.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, so from Anila, how long does it take you to edit one image after stitching?
After stitching?
Or stitching the main part of it?
Stitching is not the main part of it. It's correcting them is the main part of it, and then and fixing all the errors that doesn't match is the main part of it. And of course, and then you have to grade it. And I tend to do quite a few variants as well. And also I like to sit around with it before I actually do anything to it. Because
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so it's also because of, how when we draw, we do sketching, and for example, you're drawing a portrait of somebody, and it looks fine when you're drawing, and then you come back again, get a cup of tea, come back and look, and all the proportions are not quite right there.
Yes, yeah.
It applies the same. You
Absolutely.
can treat it like a canvas, really, when you start panorama, because you can see that the lines are not straight, or this is not balanced. So you need to edit and fix those in Photoshop. So it's quite a lot to do, but I won't do it in one go. So I will do an hour here, and then I'll come back and do an hour here. Yeah. So it spreads out. So even though it's 20 hours, 30 hours of work, it's a much longer period than that.
Yeah. That makes sense. Absolutely. Also, this is from Anila. Your 360, do you lay on the ground and shoot?
No, I haven't. Haven't tried, actually. Yeah.
So we're going to start seeing you lying on the floor taking your pictures. Or perhaps you are practicing some yoga so that you can bend all the way over.
Oh yeah, that would help, I think. Yeah.
Because that links to Ernie's question, how do you get the 90 degrees behind? Understanding that you get the 90 degrees in front, but the other 90 degrees.
Okay, so can you see this?
Yeah, we can see that.
So this is the nodal plate on here. And I will put my camera on here, I'll show you what it is. So this bit is just a regular ball head, so hopefully I'm not going to drop my camera in here. I've done it before. I've dropped my camera twice, actually.
Oh, have you? Oh, gosh.
One time was in Singapore, actually. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. The first thing I was worried about, did I break the floor? But no, they built like that. They were fine. The lens were fine. The lens were fine. It's amazing.
Good. That's
second time, I was I was turning my camera this way, and the lens just fell down because I didn't have it properly. So that was horrible. Yeah. So be
Imagining.
careful. I think you need to be really careful when you do so.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
basically, this setup here is, you can use a regular ball head. You don't have to use anything specific. I mean,
Oh, brilliant.
it helps when you have something specific, but if you just want to try it out, you don't want to invest something, because they are quite expensive, these tools. So we don't have to use a basic ball head, and then you can spin around that way. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
So your camera can turn all the way 90 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
You can do
There you
something like
go. There you go. Oh, this one's interesting from Doug. Do you use a technique to define the longitudinal and latitudinal midpoints?
Well, sorry, I don't get the question. Sorry, I'm not that technical. Yeah,
No, I don't think I am either. Doug, if you can elaborate, then please do. But the
Okay.
question was, do you use a technique to define the longitudinal and latitudinal midpoints? So we'll wait to see if we'll come back to that one, see if Doug is still with us. So Otto asks, when printing, would you compress a 100-degree stitch or send the full 100 megapixel plus image to the print?
I don't. Yeah, I didn't get to show this. I was gonna put this in here, but I know I couldn't squeeze it in time to show it. But I don't. Yeah, I would actually export an image from Lightroom where I set the size of the image. So when you export it, for example, you export an A4 print or an A3 print or an A1 print, it will define the dimension of the image for you.
Okay.
So you won't necessarily be sending the whole 100 megapixel image. It will resize it to optimize it for whatever size print that you want to do.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. Paul Carr is asking, do you focus solely on this technique now, or do you still explore and get distracted by other techniques?
I love to. I haven't been shooting for a while because but I love to explore other things. I should. I think the problem is I'm so used to it, it becomes easy, and that's kind of getting in the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do try to study other things as well, and I'm not necessarily sharing it on my social media or anything. But I like to experiment other things.
Yeah. So staying creative is important.
I wouldn't really define this as my photography, but definitely the techniques of panorama that I've learned would definitely continue to be the foundation of the way I shoot.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes, it does. Brilliant. Thank you. So Doug has come back to us and said, to be able to accurately position the camera to the midpoint of the final image, is there a technique or just post-camera cropping?
No, when you set up the camera, you have to be really precise. That's what I was really impressed with my friend Catherine, and also Otto. They're both amazing, and also Tarek. These three are the main people that really inspire me to the way I shoot. I say inspiring, it makes you sick sometimes when you go on, back in the day when we go on a 500 PX, and you think, oh, I'm pretty good here already. And we went up there and you see the images and you think, why do I even bother? Yeah. So yeah, they have the effect on that, but it's a good thing. But I'm saying, if anyone feels that way with any genre of photography, that you met someone or you've seen their work and it makes you feel like, why do I even bother? Think of it as a good sign, because that means you know that there's room to improve for you. It's much better than thinking that you've done it, because that's your worst enemy. So having that feeling of, I feel a bit crap, embrace that. It's a good sign.
Work on it. Yeah. Use it positively to better your work in the ways that you want to. So next question. Can you? We've done that one.
We missed his question. Is it? So I've sidetracked that. So yeah, aligning the camera needs to be really, really precise, because you can't really post edit if you're off center. So when you're shooting, I say if like floor tiles is a great thing to use, because you can see them whether they're verging to the exact same point in the middle, because you can set the grid on your camera. So usually you can either set a 2/3 grid, but I would do the normal sort of the grid that has a line in the middle.
Yeah.
So you get a big crosshair, and you got about, I can't remember how many boxes there are, but as long as you've got a crosshair in the middle, you'll be able to align everything in the middle. So
Yeah.
it's crucial, I think. You can't start off with something that isn't straight and then try to bend and do a lot of work just to fix it, because then it is a lot of work to do. It's doable, but is it worth it as well? Unless I think if you can look at the depth of the image,
Mm-hmm.
find something that's far away and find something that is close, that are both in the middle, and then if you align your camera, you can see them diverging together. If it's like trying to think of, churches are great for these. It's great to practice. But also, they're not always symmetrical because they're so old. The buildings are really old. It's difficult enough for them without the technology that we have today to be able to build something that is perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah.
But apparently they do. And look at the tiles on the floor. It helps you align things.
Wow, very good.
Do it on camera. If anything, symmetry, master it, and and do all that on the camera, and then the rest of them you can do some editing. Don't feel like editing is the main thing. It's definitely not the case for me. Even though my job, or I've worked in Photoshop for Photoshop work, I do a lot, but I wouldn't think of that more important than the photography. It needs to be done. The photography needs to be sound.
Yeah.
Compliments it.
It'll help you so much by getting it right in camera first. Is the point that you're making. So get as much as you can right in camera, and then use Photoshop and Lightroom to enhance.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, last question from Nandi. What is your usual range for shutter speed and f-stop for indoor photography? How do you keep your hands still when using longer shutter speed?
So two questions.
First question. What is your usual range for shutter speed and f-stop for indoor photography?
I think you experimented,
Yeah.
I think most of the lenses, they always say f8 to f11 or f13, and at some point it will sort of fall off and diffraction happens and you lose details.
Yeah.
It's your lens. You need to work it out. That's how I learned. Even though we do a lot of research, but lens, they sometimes they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
Lenses are not. Like, for example, like another lens of mine, the most the best. Well, you say the sharpness, the best sharpness that it gets, which pointless is actually 5.6. So I can't teach you that.
Yeah, that's down to
and also
the individual.
You build your connection with build your understanding of your lens a bit more.
Yeah.
So in terms of what f number and shutter speed is all just down to whatever light you have. So I couldn't say exactly what it is. So,
yeah, it's different to where you are and what surrounding you're in and what time of day it is, and different things like that will all affect it.
So so experiment. What was the other one again?
So the other end of that question was, how do you keep your hand still when using longer shutter speed?
Okay.
Well, more so.
You can because I think it's quite relevant to shooting in London, because London, they always they don't like you to shoot tripods. So a lot of us who shoots a lot in London, we don't end up using tripods because they just end up kick us away. A lot of locations like staircases, tunnels, tubes, you can't use a tripod. So you have to train yourself to hold really still. But there are techniques where you can hold really still.
Yeah.
If it's something like that, you can rather than shooting like this, you just put your elbows in against your chest and then just hold it in, and put the viewfinder right up to your eyes, and you just
really
lock everything in.
Yeah.
Slowly breathe out when you shoot. You can keep it slow, and take multiple shots as well. You put it on multiple. Hold it down so you don't have the shutter shake. You can just hold it down and click.
Yeah.
That would help. Or the other way, just put it on your shoulder. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, well, there you go. Fantastic.
Well, you can't. Oh, you could do. There's another lock as well. You can put your elbow here, lock it in, and just do that. So that's
Oh,
another way of keeping
fantastic.
things still as well.
That's
So
brilliant.
you can try these techniques. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing these with us. A couple of the girls, oh, well, a couple of the viewers are saying you have to hold your breath.
Yeah, someone did say, but also someone did say, don't hold your breath. You slowly breathe out.
Oh, there you go.
So I don't know. You try it. You experiment.
Keep breathing.
Because we're all a little bit different, you know. So, so it's good to. Well, yeah, we have to try experiment these things. It's
Yeah.
The whole point of my presentation is, find something that's interesting to you, and experiment and work out all the quirks of it.
Yes.
And make it and sort of own it. Take that skill as your own.
Yeah, yeah. Work out what you enjoy and just play with it. And that's all of the questions for now.
Okay, so let's see where I'm at. So can I just do this? Yeah, because well, Data Color invited me, and I really want to share this part of the presentation because I actually printed something out. Yeah. Oh, if you want to know more about the editing, well, the setting the prints for printing, the process of doing that, check out the Guild's website, because a few weeks ago, Nate Coulson did a really good presentation about how to set up your images to print, and you definitely should look at it because he's a much more experienced person to talk about print. I do as well. I'm doing for 2 years, and I'm not that technical person, but I do enough so I make sure that all the images will look the way I want it. So I thought I'll share this part with you.
Wonderful, thank you.
I am going to exit this presentation. Just give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Okay, so I'm going to flip my camera as well. Okay, so you can see these. Yeah, these are the. Hold on, let me. Sorry, 1 second. So I've got 2 prints on here. So I understand that you can't see it here, but I'll show you. I've actually took a photo of these 2. I've put it on the screen, so you will be able to see them later. But what I'm trying to tell you is that these 2 prints, one is a color calibrated on the Mac. I'm using a 2014 MacBook Pro. It's quite an old one. So calibrated screen. So one of them is a calibrated screen with the correct color profile of that the SpiderX is managing. And I also turned it off. I used the default version of the default of the color profile from the original Mac, and also set up to print as well. But this is with the sRGB setup, whereas the calibrated one I also calibrated and specified for the print lab that I use. So they have a particular profile for this kind of paper. This is a Hahn-Müller fine art pearl paper. So I've done all that with the calibration. The other one is without. So that was just a JPEG that you edited and just sent to print. But both of them are edited to look the same, exactly the same. It's quite difficult to explain. So yeah, they both would look exactly the same visually on 2 different screens. One's calibrated, one's not. So that's how I print those 2. Let me switch the camera around. Okay, so you can see my screen.
We can, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to set up very quickly SpiderX Pro. Load it up. So you can see, make sure you warm your screen up. I'm pretty sure we've warmed up by now.
I think we will have.
Lighting conditions. Just don't work in too dark conditions. It's not good for you anyways. And your images, you get the highlights wrong.
Yeah.
So it tells you quite a lot of details about how you should set it up if your screen is, for example, mine on the Mac. So these doesn't matter to me because I can't really change that. Whereas if you have other screens, then you can adjust the temperature, turn it down to 6,500, and reset the contrast settings, because Mac screens are very cool and also contrasty.
Yeah, yeah.
So on here, it will ask you is it a wide LED or is it a standard LED? It's the lighting. It's very helpful because they actually tell you, which Mac has actually worked for you. So for example, for mine, because it's old, it's between 2009 to 2015, my settings should be on standard. Whereas if you have a newer Mac or professional grade screens, then your one will be wide LED. So I'll keep it on standard, and I will do a full cal because it's really quick. I have other color graders as well, and also have the old one of I've got the Spider Pro X, Spider Pro 4. I think that was the one a few years ago. This one is definitely a lot quicker. So I'll turn it on. Next, I'll put it here. I'll run it. So now you can see that it's doing the thing. And whilst I'm gonna go through this bit, I thought I'll ask. The question was, why is color accuracy is important to my work? So I also want to ask, like, why black and white images can be so powerful? Because we talk about color, so why? And also, why is black and white images so powerful? And I remember going to a seminar in London, and the speaker was a fashion photographer. He gave the best answer about black and white. Because colors can manipulate our minds. We have a preconception of what colors mean. Like the sepia tones give you an impression of old times, days gone by, or a snowy scene that can give you the impression of happy and warmth, or it could be cold, lonely, and eerie, or it could be the same image. Like you can change the color; it implies different things. So with the absence of color, we lose all of those preconceptions. So what we see is purely what the image is telling us. We look at shapes and textures. If there's a person that we're looking at, we look at their actions, we look at their gestures. Without color, the message is really direct. So it's more powerful because you cut through everything. The message is really clear. Yeah. So in other words, colors can be used to tell stories. Hence the color accuracy is important because if you take photos, you're a storyteller. You want your image to look the right atmosphere. You want the mood to be right for the viewer.
That's a really interesting concept.
So now it's done. Now see, it's quick. I just read that.
Quick.
I just say that. It's done.
That's amazing.
So let's go finish, and you just save the name. So it gives you. This is the default name. So I just call it. For today, 2021-03-02, and I'll just save it for that. And calibration reminder, I'll just leave it for 6 months. And done. Next. So they will show you, like, you're switching between. You can see the color change, but you might not see it on your screen because my screen. So it shouldn't technically. It wouldn't do very much to your screen if I.
It does. I don't know if that's the same for everybody else, but can you see the color difference? I really can on my screen.
But if you, for example, even if I hide this area, I'm going to hide the screen, and you look at actually. Hold on. No, I can't. We can't switch it. Sorry. So
we can still see your shared screen, so that's been really useful. So, that's been really useful.
Yeah. So if I switch, if you look at my webcam view,
yeah.
So this is without. This is uncalibrated versus calibrated.
Yeah.
On the Mac, it's the uncalibrated is much cooler. So when you calibrate the screen, it will look weird to you because it feels a lot more warmer. But that's normal. That's how it is.
Yeah.
So that's just the Mac. If you had other screens, it might behave a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And so now that we've done that, I am going to bring you back to the presentation. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. That was brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us and showing us how it runs.
So those two prints I've popped it on here.
Wonderful.
And
everybody should be able to see.
I can. Hold on, should I swap my camera around?
Oh, we can still see your screen share, so we could see that then.
Okay, all right. So
now we can see you as well.
Now you can see my face.
Yeah,
Okay.
lovely.
Yeah. So I'm just going to add a special thanks to my friend Remy. He taught me a lot about printing, because when I first started printing, my images come out really dark, and I don't know why. It's because I have my screen really bright.
Oh,
Yeah. So
so
he
of course.
taught me to get a, something like a spider, like the spider, and he
Mhm.
taught me how to set up the prints so that I get the right color profiles from the printer.
Yeah.
So print labs that you use, for example, Loxy Colors, yeah, it's quite common for wedding photographers. Printspace is the one that is local to me, and I use them a lot. Yeah, they have their own color profiles. So if you go to the website, download them, and then install it into either your Photoshop or your Lightroom. When you export it to print, you can also do a preview on there as well, so you can see the effects of what the paper
Oh,
does to
wow.
the image.
That's really
And make sure you do that, and also don't edit with the screen really bright. You can see that you can see my Mac being on full brightness.
Yeah, yeah.
This is when stuff goes wrong when you print everything's dark. So definitely knock it down to somewhere 5 notches. That's what Remy told me, and it seems to work much better, because the advice is to keep it about 160 nits. It's hard for people to know what it actually does.
Yeah.
But if you use a screen calibrator, you probably tell you what the level, what the nit is.
Yeah.
I tend to edit even lower.
Oh, okay.
So I do about 120, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I like to keep the shadow details, so I need to make sure that nothing blows out. But
Mm.
anyways, this is the 2 prints on here.
Mhm.
Let me show you again. So I didn't cheat on here. You can see the texture of the paper.
We can.
Yeah, and this is the uncalibrated one, and now next to each other. And this is how the final image on my screen looks like. And both I've edited the same on an uncalibrated screen and also on a calibrated screen. So side by side on 2 screens, they look the same.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's look at the right one, comparing to the actual image reference. I'll let you judge. You can look at it, because I can't see what you see on your screen, but mine's a calibrated screen, so it was more obvious for me. Like,
Yeah, yeah. You can definitely see a difference. I don't know about you guys tuning in. Can you see
so
that
this is
difference?
against
I certainly
the
can.
uncalibrated.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, beautiful. The colours are really rich.
Okay.
Yeah, fabulous.
So for me, the uncalibrated image on my screen now, it's definitely a more yellow and green, because I was mentioning earlier that the Mac, they tend to be towards the bluish.
Yeah,
tint.
yeah.
So when I was editing, I think it overcompensated a little bit. That's why the printout actually it become yellow.
Mm.
And also it's a bit more contrasty as well.
It takes our eyes a little while to adjust as well, doesn't it? So once you have calibrated your screen, it will feel different, and it'll only take, I mean, I don't know if there's any statistics of how long it does actually take, but it only takes a short while for your eyes to actually readjust to see that it's not too warm. It's actually how you should see it.
I mean, it's I think for architecture, it's a bit more forgiving. It does change the mood a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, imagine if it's a portrait of a person, then that what that does to skin tone can be,
yeah, it can be quite drastic.
Yeah.
Because here, Kevin Wright has commented to say that the shadow details. So in the calibrated version, for me, and I'm sure the viewers as well, hopefully we are seeing this a very similar thing, is that in the calibrated version, the detail in the shadows is much more evident than the uncalibrated version. The blacks are a lot heavier. So yeah, it really brings out the best in the image.
Yeah. So that's why I thought this image might be helpful, because you get a really
absolutely, yeah.
And I tried before. I thought, I shot some landscapes, and the shadow details in like trees, between trees, you lose all of them when I printed it out.
Yeah.
And how do I print that? I think it really solves the problem that I have.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, it's also a huge chunk of problem. The colors is correct. Is that one thing really? And then also being able to see a bit more of the shadow details, and you get what you want from your image.
Yeah, exactly that. Well,
Okay, so I will end my talk here. So thank you very much for
fabulous.
staying in. I mean, I've ran way over by an hour.
Really?
45 minutes. So I'm really sorry for everyone who had to,
No, don't worry at all. And I apologise for the issues at the beginning. I can't believe my computer actually just switched itself off. Oh gosh. But we got there in the end, and what a fantastic presentation. Thank you, Peter. It's been a real pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
We could sit and chat for hours because your work is just absolutely gorgeous. There's so many lovely compliments coming in, thanking you from loads and loads of people. Your work's absolutely gorgeous, inspiring. I know I saw a comment earlier on that one of the viewers said that your work and this presentation has really inspired them again to pick up the camera again.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Yeah, I'm glad it does that, because I think everyone sometimes you get a bit tired.
Yeah,
you need someone around, like to help you bring the fight back.
Yes,
not just photography,
exactly.
it's everything. Yeah,
exactly that. I'm just trying to find it and I can't actually find it now, but and we've got a couple of people saying that they don't know, they don't think they'll have the patience to make such beautiful images. So they admire you for that, absolutely. Oh, here we go. It was from Tony. It's made me want to get out and start shooting again. The kick that I needed when I haven't had the drive to. So that's wonderful. I'm so glad we've inspired you, and I'm sure we've inspired so many of you as well. So Peter, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been a really lovely evening and really inspiring presentations. Thank you. So many amazing images, so many lovely comments for you as well.
Do I get to read them, or will we close it? Will we lose all of them?
I'm going to do something and see if I can copy them all.
I was wondering if I missed any questions as well, in case.
I can have a look for you, and if there are any, then I can get them sent over to you. So that's great. Thank you so much. So I'll end the session here then. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Take care, and thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Take care.
Stay in touch.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll see most of you who I saw some of the names that I recognize. So hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you guys. Take care everyone, and good
Take care.
night.